On September 1, 2025, the high-security perimeter of the SCO summit was established. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi exited his hotel, walking toward his pre-positioned bulletproof motorcade. Then the protocol broke. Instead of entering his designated vehicle, Russian intelligence officers formed a sudden perimeter around the Prime Minister. They diverted him directly into Vladimir Putin's armored limousine. The heavy doors slammed shut, locking the two leaders inside. For the next 45 minutes, the vehicle remained stationary. Global media outlets broadcasted the footage as a demonstration of deep geopolitical ties between India and Russia. Inside the cabin, the atmosphere was far more grim. This was a tactical maneuver to avoid a perimeter breach. An encrypted line connected the limousine to India's national security advisor, Ajit Doval. Doval informed the Prime Minister that his official motorcade was no longer secure. Indian intelligence had intercepted data suggesting a CIA-backed assassination plot was active, with the command center operating out of Dhaka, Bangladesh. A silent war was unfolding in real time, with the Prime Minister's survival as the primary objective of a joint Indian-Russian counter-operation. On August 27th, the streets of Dhaka followed their usual rhythm. Inside a luxury hotel, a 50-year-old American man checked in. He used the name Terrence. He carried 3 large suitcases and presented himself as a businessman on a routine trip. In reality, Terrence was an experienced CIA covert operative. Those suitcases contained encrypted communication arrays and operational blueprints. Terrence was there to establish a command post, providing the final signal to a hit squad already positioned at the SCO summit. The plan relied on operational silence. However, in late August, Russian SCR intelligence detected an anomaly. High-level CIA encryption protocols had become active in the region. This digital handshake established a direct line of communication between the hotel room in Dhaka and the SCO summit location in China. SVR analysts cross-referenced these signals with receivers active at the summit venue. This synchronized data link allowed Moscow to alert Ajit Doval with the specific coordinates of the command center, prompting RAW and the SVR to launch a joint strike to sever the connection. Modern espionage centers on identifying these digital signatures before an operative ever has a chance to pull a physical trigger. On September 1st, as the summit was underway, Terrence reached for a drink in his hotel room. He was preparing to finalize the operation. A high-grade nerve agent had been introduced into the glass. It neutralized his nervous system instantly. Terrence collapsed and died without a sound, his equipment still active, but his command never sent. When the U.S. Embassy learned of the operative's death, they bypassed local police procedures to secure the hotel room. They took possession of the body and the suitcases containing the operational data. In Washington and London, cyber specialists began a scrubbing operation, removing Terrence's history and service records from government and public databases. Official U.S. military statements followed, claiming no personnel had been lost and no covert activities were ongoing in the sector. In this arena, failure is handled with total erasure rather than public acknowledgement. 2 days later in New Delhi, Prime Minister Modi took a public stage. He asked his audience if they were applauding because he had attended the trip or because he had returned alive. India immediately tightened its defensive posture. The Prime Minister canceled several high-profile appearances, including his scheduled address to the United Nations General Assembly. He similarly withdrew from the ASEAN summit in Malaysia. Indian intelligence agencies were unwilling to risk further exposure while the threat remained active. This shift points to a rift with Western intelligence. Strategically, independent nations that refuse to align with Washington's specific interests often find themselves targeted by the CIA's playbook for regime change. This map shows the regional instability surrounding India, a ring of fire. Coordinated political shifts in Bangladesh, Nepal, and Sri Lanka have effectively created a perimeter of unrest intended to isolate New Delhi. India's leadership has pushed back against this pressure. Union Minister Piyush Goyal recently stated that India would not negotiate trade deals with a gun to its head. Goyal issued those remarks as the internal investigation into the September 1 plot was finalizing in New Delhi. India has demonstrated a new capability to identify and eliminate foreign intelligence threats well before they reach its borders, marking a permanent shift in how the nation defends its sovereignty.